pleasure of having our next speaker up here with us. He represents a company called Sapmi Nature, and he will give us insight on how indigenous knowledge can inspire tourism development. Lennart Pittja is here, and he is an indigenous Sami from the Swedish side of Sami, and was born and raised in a reindeer herding family in Unna, Kärrlös. I'm not sure, am I saying it correct? In Sami community. And he considers that the reindeer are the most beautiful and gorgeous animals on this planet. Currently, he's also a member in the board in a Swedish Lapland Visitors Board. And he's living in Gällivare, and sometimes you might be hearing him singing in a choir there. But today, I want you to listen to his words very carefully, because his speech today will help you to give some food for your thoughts for the workshops tomorrow. So, Lennart Pittja, let's welcome him. The floor is yours.
Hello. No sticks, guys, no sticks, remember? Thank you for having me here, and thank you for letting me introduce a little bit of indigenous Sami knowledge to you. Some of you already know a lot, but I thought that we'll start with a film called A Hymn to Home. Jag tror att naturen är helt nödvändig för människan. Vi behöver vara i naturen. För mig är det ju som att komma hem. Det finns nog ingenstans i världen som är mer hemma än just här. På den här lilla ön i sjön här. Jag ser ju samma sak som mina förfäder såg. Man har inte behövt göra någon manifest över att det här är mitt. Det här är vårt. Det finns inga stora skogsavverkningar och inga gruvhål och inga vindsnurror och inga vägar. Vi hör fågelsång och det finns vidder, det finns vyer, vi ser Akka. Ser solen smeka fjällsidorna och det finns väldigt, väldigt mycket vackert här. Precis som när jag följde med min pappa hit när jag var barn så får vi hit för att fiska. För att ta upp liksom fisk som vi skulle äta sen resten av året. Det är här jag fångar fisken som jag sen serverar i gästerna i kampen nere i Nabrilokta resten av vintern. Så det är liksom ett kretslopp som har pågått under många, många år och som det gäller ju också att göra det varsamt. Du kan bara vara och ta ut det som naturen klarar av att bära. På något vis så kommer man närmare alltihop här, känns det som. Ja, det finns mycket med den här platsen som är speciellt för mig. Det är ju sånt intressant begrepp det här med vildmark. Det är liksom ett uttryck som, ja, när man ska beskriva det finaste man har i den här delen av världen så säger man, det är den orörda vildmarken. Och det är ingen vildmark. Det här är ett kulturlandskap. Det här är ju liksom mark som vi har använt i, ja, ingen vet ju ens hur länge vi har varit här. Här har det bott många familjer. Här har barnfötter snubblat över tuvorna många, många gånger. Och hundarna har skällt här. Och man har fiskat i sjön. Och det här är ju, ja, det är väldigt levande. Genom att inte använda det faktiskt börja se en annan andra världen här. Det här är ju, det är mycket intressantare historier att berätta om ett kulturlandskap som är så oförstört att du faktiskt inte ens ser att folk har varit här. Även om det finns 1000 träd så är vartenda ett av de där träden viktigt. Jag ser det som min uppgift att försöka bidra till att få folk att uppleva saker utan att faktiskt förstöra det. Det är som någon mission som jag tror jag har med mig sen långt tillbaka i tiden. Jag heter Lennart Pittja och jag driver Sapmi Nature. Och det här är min plats i världen. I like to start with acknowledging the traditional custodians of this land where we are gathering today. Levas and Kadna Sami communities and their elders past, present and future. Sami tourism is my platform to share Sami knowledge, values and understanding of life as I know it. I founded my first Sami tourism company back in 1995, a time that was different from where our industry is today. I founded Sapmi Nature in 2016 and I started to create a place in nature where I can host guests from all over the world who wants to learn more about my people, spend time in nature and enjoy Sapmi with the great food, with the unique lights and nature that is still nature. All without causing problems for the reindeer. Almost 30 years ago, I felt that it was urgent to share knowledge and understanding, since I grew up learning that people in Sweden knew almost nothing about Sapmi. Nothing was taught in schools in Sweden, and no journalists or storytellers were to be found in Gällivare, where I grew up. And what you don't know about, you don't care about. I think it's as simple as that. I understood already at a young age that the lack of Sami knowledge among people in Sweden and elsewhere is a big risk for Sami life and culture, and it's a big risk for our reindeer. So that's my why I'm standing in this business 28 years later. And the sense of urgency and importance is even stronger in me today. I feel that it's becoming more and more important to share my knowledge, not primarily for my own sake, but rather because indigenous peoples in the world hold the knowledge that is critical to all of us. My story is the story of the reindeer. So I grew up in a reindeer herding family in Unacheru Sami community, an area along the mighty Lule River. Land and waters that carry my history, my culture, the grazing land for our reindeer. Land and waters that is my life, so this is my hymn to home. And on a crisp November day, if I'm on my own in the forest, I can actually feel the presence of generations of my family that still live here. I know today that our visible history goes back at least 7,000 years. Before that, it was 3 kilometers of ice. And when I sit around the fire, I often think about my ancestors' life before me. I walk on some of the trails they walked. I fish in the river like they did. I can see where they harvested the inner bark of the pine tree to get vitamin C. And I know some of the more recent places of residence. The old places, they are gone forever, because the river has been exploited for hydropower. So the river was flooded, and the old settlements, the old resident places, they are all gone now. The once mighty Luleå River produced 11% of Sweden's total production of electricity last year. But I don't need to see the traces of my ancestors. I feel it, and I feel them. They are with me. Also today, when I'm standing here in artificial light and talk to you through a wireless microphone. They are with me. So back in 1995, when I was a little bit younger than I am today, I felt that tourism must be the best way to create a local economy, to share knowledge, and to protect the grazing land for the reindeer all at the same time. I thought that good tourism development and smart tourism entrepreneurs must have the same interest in protecting nature as the reindeer herders do. A perfect match. So my conclusion was, let's go and change the world. I was 25. Everything was possible. After all, nature is the foundation for all of us. So without nature, none of us would be. But then life happened, and maybe not everything developed and evolved in the way that I hoped it would be. And when I look around me, indigenous peoples are often considered a threat to economic growth around the world. And that is certainly also the fact here in Sapmi, too. As if indigenous peoples are responsible for the climate crisis. Or Sami are responsible for the ongoing extinction of biodiversity in the tree plantations of this nation. As if the Gapna or Leva Sami communities have prevented the mining here in Kiruna. Or as if my family stopped the dam upstream Europe's largest waterfall, Stormurekkikorcho, Stora Sjöfallet, once described as the Niagara Falls of Europe. Are human rights and Sami people a threat to a common future in the Arctic? Samis are portrayed in the biggest newspaper in Sweden as nobility that controls half of this nation's land and resources, all for our own personal gain and wealth. Sami communities are portrayed as being responsible for people's lack of access to nature in one of the countries in the world with most accessible nature thanks to allemansrätten or the freedom to roam. Is it a human right to go heli-skiing in the mountains in May, during the time when all of the reindeer calves are born in the mountains? Or drive snowmobile up and down a mountain 20 times, using nature as my personal playground, without thinking at all about the life environment? And I have not even mentioned hunting and fishing yet. But I will. Högsta domstolen is the highest juridical court in Sweden and the final arbiter in the Swedish law system. Kirja's Sami community took the state to court, like you do in a democratic state, when you live in a country that's supposed to respect the rule of law. This was a long, risky, and immensely expensive process. But the Sami community felt that thousands of dialogue meetings over the years gave them no choice but to go to the court to protect the reindeer and the reindeer herding. And after more than a decade, the Supreme Court decision decided in favor of the Sami community, not the state. Hunting and fishing rights are Sami, claimed from time immemorial
by the Sami community through their life and reindeer herding in the area. Life and traditions that was here long, long before even Sweden as a nation existed. So this is called human rights in some other parts of the world. In Sweden, all hell broke loose on social media. So what about the new industrial investment that is planned for in the north? I honestly think it's great if the industry really wants to reduce the CO2 emissions. We are in a climate crisis and we need to act. But is the so-called green transition in reality the same story as before? Another name and color for sure. But will this just continue to destroy nature and extinct biodiversity? Just because media and politicians decided to call it the Green Industrial Revolution, it's supposed to be different this time. I don't think it's a sustainable way if the price of reducing CO2 emissions is to build 5,000 windmills, dam the remaining rivers, or cut the small islands of natural growth forest that we still have left. That can never be green, no matter the PR companies willing to talk about that color. So is this transition anything different from what mankind in the rich part of the world has been doing over the last centuries? I don't know. So who do you think your grandchildren will hold responsible for the polluted water in the rivers? For the extinction of biodiversity with consequences that none of us can have any understanding about today? Who will the great-grandchildren hold responsible for the effects of the climate crisis? Indigenous peoples are the guardians of nature all over the world, also in Sapmi. 80% of the biodiversity on Earth is located on the traditional lands of indigenous peoples. That's 80. So if you think about the Sami as being the main problem towards development, think again. It is not true. Nature is the foundation for all of us, and we are all in the same boat. And we need to do better to create opportunities for the coming generations. I know that some of you acknowledge this already, and I know that someone here might also stop listening by now, but that's fine too. Tourism was my choice 30 years ago, when I decided what I wanted to do with my life. And tourism is still my choice. I believe that travel and tourism can make a change for the better. I established Sapmi Nature Camp 2017 in the middle of a World Heritage area called Laponia. Laponia was named on UNESCO's list of World Heritage Sites in 1996, thanks to the unique combination of nature and Sami reindeer herding culture that cannot be found anywhere else on Earth. Sweden has signed an agreement with an international community and signed a guarantee that they will protect the values of the World Heritage area for the benefit of mankind and for eternal time. There is no numbers on that, eternal time. That's a long time, really long time. I wish I could see the Minister for Business shouting out, "I love nature and culture," instead of the silly photo that I saw of her holding a balloon that said, "I love mining too." Imagine if we started to invest in sustainable, indigenous-led tourism development in the Laponia area. Instead of doing everything to invite foreign mining corporations to invest in short-term dirty mines that we don't really need more of. I mean, the investments in nature-based sustainable tourism, if done wisely, will have an unbeatable time to give a return on the investments. Eternal time. That's a really long time. And if done right, it will not destroy the grazing land for the reindeer. Perfect. Travel becomes increasingly important as means to share critical knowledge and understanding about life and nature. So when schools fail in their mission to share indigenous knowledge, when media is focused in the south and produces clickbaits and conflict-focused stories, and when social media is flooded with racism and polarization, I believe that travel and tourism can act as a force for good. But we need to shift focus from as many guests as possible in the high season to creating meaningful experiences that inspire people to stay longer and come year-round. If we're going to be sustainable for real, we have to use our possibilities to develop and evolve the local communities that we as an industry are such an important part of. I believe that tourism can act as an agent to make our communities more attractive to live in and provide more opportunities than fly-in, fly-out mining jobs or seasonal jobs in hotel resorts. We need to help the locals, the associations, the local people to offer concerts, workshops, sports events, arts exhibitions, just to name a few examples, to create a more diverse and attractive place to live and visit year-round. And looking at Sapmi, we have areas with lots of negative concerns about the effects of tourism. Over-tourism that damages the natural environment with lots of litter, emissions, and disturbance for the locals. Disturbance for the reindeer and for wildlife. We as an important industry, we must stop objectifying Sami culture and reduce elements of our life and culture into stereotypical fake PR and sagas. The Sami culture holds so much knowledge. There's art, there's food, values, handicraft. Sami has a deep-rooted connection to nature, all which people in the rich part of the world are eagerly looking to experience on their next travels. To reduce my culture into a boring, stereotypical fake experience, it's not only disrespectful, I think it's quite bad business in the long run too. And a fake stereotype will certainly not inspire young Sami to start a business and come and work with us in tourism. I believe that future guests will not come anymore if we can't offer meaningful learning experiences based on true knowledge and great hospitality. All tourism stakeholders are constantly looking into the challenges of marketing to stick out and to create content that reaches out to our next guests. So why don't we start by telling more of the truth? Sharing real expertise and knowledge. Let the storytellers tell their story in their own way. We have a unique lifestyle and an endless number of stories to share with the world. So we need to shift focus from volume to quality and create the greatest hosted Arctic experiences in the world. And at the same time contribute to a crucial development of our local communities to become the greatest places to visit and live. And I believe we can. Do you?
Yes.
Good. Right answer. Almost all stayed awake. Grateful for that. Do you have any questions? Comments? Completely silent. So I make the speech again. Did anyone think about what I talked about in the film? The word about wilderness? Have you come across this thinking about the word before? I think it's important that we call things the right things. it matters. And if you call things wilderness, I think that you take away at least the 7,000 years of life that I know on my land. And it's a little bit boring. I mean, if you have nature and people and culture, that becomes a much more interesting story to tell and to hear and experience, I think. So if you don't remember anything else of my little presentation here, remember that, at least. You want a mic?
Thank you, Lennart. That was very inspiring. And you're completely right. The market is changing. The growth of interest in indigenous knowledge. I've been working, as you know, a little in this space for several years, but that is growing. And people's curiosity is growing. So they do want to know about what is going on around them. To what extent have you been able to work with the tourism sector? I don't like the word industry, but all the folks sitting behind me there, to help develop that knowledge of what is not wilderness, what is full of life. Because increasingly, I think over the next few years, your visitors are going to want answers to that. They want to learn. And how can we teach those who might be able to teach them? Thanks.
Yeah, well, just a reflection. I worked a long time together with Lapland Visitors Board, and I think that the stories, if you follow that, it holds a lot of the genuine, authentic stories and knowledge. So I think that we have worked a long time on that. I think there are quite a number of Sami companies that are working hard to share and inspire. But as a tourism sector, we must do much better than what we're doing.
You are in a way challenging me a bit with this, what is begrepp in English again? The concept, wilderness. I'm not saying that it's wrong, what you are stating, but at the same time, I worked for quite many years with focus on the Arctic regions, the Antarctic regions, and I also know that quite many of the guests who visit our areas, not only this Arctic Europe, Spitsbergen, Greenland, Iceland, etc. In a way, for them, this is in a way a type of wilderness, because they haven't seen anything similar. They are living in cities. Actually, a story, when I lived in Spitsbergen, in Longyearbyen, we had expedition ships. And normally the last trip, yearly, was a town trip. A lot of tour operators. And I was holding the hand to a woman. She was not able to walk on stones. She was from, I think it was Bern or something in Switzerland, which we think is crazy. But for her, this was in a way extreme. So, do you think something at all is wilderness, or?
Not in Sapmi.
No, okay, okay. No, but then I...
There is a concept of this word wilderness that I dislike. I'm not the judge. I'm not in any position to decide what's right or wrong. But there is this idea of the white man coming in and exploring, finding things for the first time. And that is a story that has been with us since Columbus started to travel around. That is not reality. There was a lot of people living on the North American and South American side long before this ship came there. And I think that sometimes, as it is with the expression of the green industrial transformation, if you use the words many times enough, then that becomes a reality, the truth. And that's what I want to challenge. And with that challenge, I like to inspire people to learn more, broaden the knowledge about this place. Not primarily to tell my story, not at all. But there's a lot of local culture, people, stories that we miss if we just say that this is wilderness, in my opinion.
Oh, then I follow you.
Thank you. So we have one here and second there. Yes.
Thank you for your speech. Maud, I think the name was Maud, the speaker before. What? Mona, yeah, Mona, of course. She was talking about self-confidence. And I think that's really an important ingredient for building up this kind of stories and also this kind of offer. And Anna, you said, how can we teach? You know, teaching or try to spread some kind of knowledge and enlightenment. It's like you have to be self-confident, believing that you have something important to say. And my question is, do you think the Sami community has the self-confidence? Or not only the Sami community, so also about us in this room and our regions? It's a question, and the following up question is, if we don't have enough self-confidence, how can we help each other to raise this kind of joint self-confidence, a better self-confidence?
Wow. The second one is interesting. I think that we are not confident enough. I think that a lot of us are a little bit anxious and want to really know what are the customers looking for. And of course that's also important, naturally. But as it is with Sami culture, the lack of knowledge makes it really difficult for most people to evaluate any of the offers that you throw out there. So I think that you need to be confident enough to say, you are welcome, but you are welcome on these premises. You have to help people to choose a better experience. And then the second part is, I think it's hard for me. I don't really have a good answer on that. I think that speaking about these things is very important, I think. You know, I do it from my context, from my Sami heritage. But everyone we all have our own context. We are all stars if we decide to be that. And no guest can anywhere know more than you can about your place, about your culture, about your heritage. So take that position and work with it in a wise way. Then good things will happen, I think, I hope, I believe.
Excellent. We have more questions and comments here.
Lennart. Thank you, Lennart. My name is Antje Schlecht-Valjo. I live in Golugate now. We two have met before. I'm also representing Destination Sapmi, and I agree with a lot of things you say. And I also think we need to arrest ourselves in how we think and also how we plan. How do we do tourism development? And while I'm listening to you, I'm also thinking back that we newly have been designing our new strategy for the little small Sami village, Golugate, no? And we took a stand. We said that we don't want to build tourism that doesn't bring something good to the table for the local community, and we don't want to exploit tourism which does go in confrontation with the reindeer herding. But that's bold. Do you think that the Sami areas and the tourism developers can be moved in a direction where they take local communities and also Sapmi as a whole more into account?
Of course, I believe in that. I wouldn't be doing this otherwise. So yes, naturally, we can do much better and must do much better. And I think that in general, the Sami stories are too shallow in our business. There's a lot of focus on the surface, but we need to take more things in to tell a better story and to give a better context for our guests. And it's working. I mean, I run a super small company. I have people coming from all different places in the world. And they decided to come, and it's by far not the easiest place to come and stay at. But the willingness and the curiosity is so strong, and they are looking for places where they can actually learn and spend time with local Sami people. And there's simply just too few of people and places like mine. We should have, to be anywhere close to taking care of the interest that there is in Sami culture and Sami experiences, there should probably be 500 of us. Or maybe 1,000. But I mean, there's just a few. And I think that this stereotypical way of presenting Sapmi is not inspiring the young, strong, smart young Sami people to enter this way of life. Do you, as a person, want to be reduced to an object? Not at all. So we need to go beyond that, and that's what I'm trying to do. And I have tried to. Some of you heard me maybe 8 years ago. I talked roughly on a little bit the same things. And I refuse to come back in 8 years and talk about the same things. 8 years is an immense time of time to change for the better. So I think I will just have to stop there, and I will not get back.
Lennart, there is still time for comments. Question here.
Lennart, I actually would like to say something that Trond is mentioning that I find very interesting is identity and image. Because if you focus on what people coming to our place, what they want to see, or what they think about this place, if they think it's wilderness and we give them wilderness, we will just feed them the image of this place. But what you're telling is the story or the identity of the place. And I think that is super important as a storyteller, that we tell our story, or my story, or someone who's the story from here, instead of letting someone come and keep on telling that old story. So I think that is something we should all focus on. If we want to be a mirror, like give them the image that they think, or if we want to tell them who we really are. You're doing a super good job.